your olive oil, is there canola oil in it? In the United States, it's legal to sell olive oil at a restaurant and have it be 49% canola oil. That's crazy because you're not buying olive oil. You're buying canola oil plus your olive oil plus canola oil. So you have to ask.
Wow.
Um, and so, or you can bring your own. I learned that from Dr. David Perlmutter, who wrote Brain, really great neurologist. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's come to the point where we need to bring our own olive oil and our own dressings to restaurants.
What if aging isn't about slowing down, but leveling up? I'm Dr. Isaac Jones. This is the Longevity Leaders Podcast. Welcome to the Longevity Leaders Podcast. I'm Dr. Isaac Jones, and this episode is part of our exclusive series recorded at the Exponential Longevity Summit, a global gathering of cutting-edge health experts exploring the edge of human performance, health span, and longevity. Let's get into it. Dr. Robert Love, thank you so much for being here. I cannot wait to get into this incredible topic, which is so important for longevity. I mean, we have so many people all around the world that are leaving this earth early because of neurological diseases, especially Alzheimer's. One of the leading causes, I think it is the leading cause of brain-based diseases out there. And I'm just grateful for your commitment to this space, commitment to the science of reversing Alzheimer's. And we're going to talk about how to reverse Alzheimer's because it's happened. It's happening. You're doing it. You have friends that are doing it. Let's talk about, all of that today. And I'd love for you to just start. How did you get into this in the first place? Why is this something that is really interesting to you as a topic?
Yeah, absolutely. And Dr. Jones, it's such an honor to be here with you. I so appreciate the work that you're doing, helping so many different people with the science and helping people live happier, healthier, longer lives. And so it's an honor to be here with you. And so I got into this because of my family. And like you, I really care about and love my family. When I was growing up, I had a grandfather who had Alzheimer's disease, and I watched him slowly die, and I watched how painful that was on my parents, and my father, particularly, was his father. And then as a teenager, I watched my other grandfather get dementia. This is my mother's father. I watched him slowly die. And it's about 6 years ago, I came home to my parents' house in Cincinnati, Ohio, to basically stay with my parents to help my mother as she recovered from back surgery. And it was at this time that I noticed my parents' memory was really bad. Became very concerned because they both have a family history of this. And so I sat down, I started doing the research, and I learned there's actually a lot of things you can do that are supported by science to help prevent Alzheimer's disease. And so at the time, I was working with children and adults with attention deficit disorder, and I switched my focus then to Alzheimer's prevention, and I started with my parents. And so I went through their closet, or I went through the pantry, got rid of as much sugar as I could wrestle away from them. I changed their chocolate to healthy chocolate. I started cooking more meals at home for them, and got them on some healthy supplements. They're doing much better, but it started with my parents. It started because of what I've seen dementia do to a family. I had it happen twice to both parents, and goodness, it's devastating. And just for one grandfather, I wear his ring. He was a dry cleaner. He had to start taking care of his family when his dad left him when he was about 12. We think the dry cleaning chemicals kind of caused it for him. But he got dementia in part because he had a fall later in life. He was selling vacuums door to door later in life. He's in his 70s. He liked working. He was a great man, really honest salesman. People would call my grandmother's house 10 years after my grandfather died, saying, "Is Ray there? I want service on my vacuum." People loved him so much. He was just such an honest man. And he had a fall. And after the fall, you can guess what happened. He then had cancer. And then after the cancer, then came the dementia. So his body was able to fight these diseases until he had this fall, and then he had to repair himself. And then the cancer came up, and then the dementia came up. And so one thing I want people to really know is prevent falls. Falls can take a lot of resources, and then they can make us vulnerable to underlying issues like cancer, like dementia. Not only are falls, can hit our head and have traumatic brain injury, hurt a hip, and that, if you break a hip, goodness gracious, that's very dangerous. But just falls in general, I want people to be careful around the house if they're
and that's like one of the correct me if I'm wrong, but this is one of the biggest issues with aging. Typically, it's a fall that then triggers rapid aging, correct?
Yes, it certainly can be. Almost everyone knows someone who had a fall and they weren't the same again. Or oftentimes it can be surgery if they have Anesthesia. A lot of people have anesthesia and they're not the same again.
Mm.
By the way, I can say this because this is a private video. There's a supplement that you can take after anesthesia to help brain recovery. It's called aniracetam, spelled ANIRACETAM. I recently published an article in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease about the benefits of aniracetam for the brain, in particular for Alzheimer's disease. But basically, it can help recovery of the brain after surgery. It also helps recovery of the brain after traumatic brain injury. And so, or excuse me, not after surgery, after anesthesia specifically. So that's spelled ANIRACETAM. It's not FDA approved. It is a pharmaceutical, but it's legal to buy, it's legal to sell, it's legal to possess, but you can't, I can't sell it and say this helps with recovery after traumatic brain disorder because it's not FDA approved for those things. It's just a pharmaceutical that's available in other countries. It's available without a prescription. And so I've actually gotten in trouble talking about this because the FDA and the FTC don't like people talking about it because it's not FDA approved, but it's very safe. It's very effective. I wrote a paper on it. If you search aniracetam, Journal of Alzheimer's Disease, you can read all about it. But that's something people can take after a fall. If I were going skiing, I would take it the day of skiing just in case I fell and hurt my head. I would want that in my system. I think football players should take it. But yes, falls are a darn big deal. And I love what you're doing, Dr. Jones. I love that you're exercising while we're doing this. Exercise is a great way to prevent frailty, right? Right now, 50% of people who reach age 80 will have some form of dementia. 50% of people age 85 will have Alzheimer's disease. Now, I don't like those numbers at all. The stronger you are, the less frail you are, the higher your quality of life. And also you can prevent yourself from falling, specifically hand strength. You can catch yourself. Right. So hand strength and leg strength are the biggest things to help prevent falls.
Absolutely. Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. And the strength typically decreases with age. So another thing that you want to upregulate is your strength and keep your strength as much as you can. Yesterday I was, interviewing Dr. Sachin Patel, and he was talking about how in the Framingham study, that lung capacity is the number one indicator of aging, according to the study, and that the decreased lung capacity increases your, the carbon dioxide in your body and creates a number of different things in your body. So there's things that you can do, to increase lung capacity, to increase the strength. I bought my mom this board. I'll show you if it's around. It should be right here because I use it all the time. Here it is. This is not it, but this is the brand. And I've got her a board. It's a balance board so that she, her and my dad can use this every day while they're watching TV or whatever, just to work on balance.
Love it.
And then there's a bunch of different things that you can use for strengthening your hands, right? So this is a grip strength device.
Excellent.
You've got this, and then you also have this, where you can, so that's for when you're squeezing down, but then you have this little device.
Oh yeah. Yes.
To go out. So you
Love
can
that.
strengthen your hands this way.
Love
And then
that.
I got them one other, I'll put links below, but I got them one other device. It's called an exciser to keep them, their balance good because it's a HIIT training device. But it keeps them, their hormones healthy and their blood flowing. But it only takes them a couple minutes of exercise a day. But I love that. I love that you're into that. And is there not a natural supplement as well that helps with the impact of anesthesia on the body? Because this is one of the biggest challenges. Anesthesia, a lot of people don't realize is directly linked to a lot of brain-based issues.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I had a girlfriend who was rather sick, and she had a number of different surgeries. She said she felt a part of her memory go away after every surgery. That was her, and she did not have a good memory when we were together. And so yeah, there's really something. And she's young. She's my age. She was 35 at the time. And so it's not just older people in particular. If you're over 50, anesthesia could be very dangerous for your memory, and even younger people as well. So I'm going to give you the supplements that I know that are really good for traumatic brain injury and are likely helpful with anesthesia. So I don't I know there's a certain helpful for traumatic brain injury. So if you had a head injury, and these are likely helpful for anesthesia because they work on the same systems. So number one is fish oil. You can take up to 3 grams a day. Fish oil is high in omega-3 fatty acids, specifically DHA. Our brain outside of water is made primarily of fat. And so
Wow.
if you want to repair your brain or grow new brain cells, that's right, you can grow new brain cells. That's the current science. I know we learned different in high school. Dr. Elizabeth Gould at Princeton, a neuroscientist at Princeton, she discovered that mammals can grow new brain cells in the hippocampus, the memory center of our brain. Basically every mammal but bats. I don't know why bats are unique, but we can all grow new brain cells even into our 90s. So healthy fats are helpful. You can take up to 3 grams a day of fish oil. I like Natural Force Pure Omegas. I'm not sponsored by them, but they're an inexpensive liquid that tastes pretty good. It tastes like lemon cake. I really like that. Nordic Naturals is a good one if you're going to do the pills. So a lot of fish oil. Ceylon cinnamon, spelled Ceylon cinnamon, that's shown to be helpful as well. You take about 1,000 milligrams of that a day. Curcumin is terrific for the brain. It's both neuroprotective. It actually helps reduce the amount of the accumulation of amyloid plaque in the brain. It lowers inflammation. That's another really great one, about 1,000 milligrams a day. Black pepper is really good. My favorite is Fusionary Formulas. They are a sponsor of my show, but they do a really good job of sourcing high quality curcumin. You want curcumin, not just turmeric. Curcumin is 95% more powerful than turmeric. Basically, curcumin's the 5% that's really powerful in turmeric. So you want the curcumin, 1,000 milligrams, black pepper, take it with some fat. Quercetin. We heard about quercetin with COVID. Quercetin is really good for inflammation of the lungs, also really good for recovery from traumatic brain injury and likely recovery from anesthesia. Again, so 1,000 milligrams of that a day. And then lion's mane. Lion's mane is medicinal mushroom used in ancient Chinese medicine. And here are just some of the benefits of lion's mane. It improves memory in both human and animal studies. It improves sleep, which is so important for repairing your brain. If you're not sleeping, you're not going to have new memories. And sleep is when your brain cleanses itself with the glymphatic system. That's like the lymphatic system for the brain. So lion's mane helps with sleep. Lion's mane reduces stress and anxiety. There's a great study with lion's mane cookies. They gave women either a cookie with lion's mane or a placebo cookie for 30 days. Those that took the lion's mane cookie had less depression and anxiety. So it reduces depression and anxiety. It's good for your immune system. It also protects the brain from Alzheimer's disease by lowering inflammation. And then the reason this is really good for traumatic brain injury and for anesthesia, it increases growth factors in the brain, specifically brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. That's a growth factor that facilitates the growth of new brain cells and new neural connections. And so by increasing BDNF, and then you got your fish oil to get that healthy fat in your brain, you now have the stimulation to grow new brain cells and then the raw materials to grow new brain cells. By the way, I have a lion's mane supplement, so I'm financially, I don't want to say attached, but I make money from lion's mane, just so you're aware. So I just want people to know that I'm biased as far as the benefits of lion's mane. And then another supplement that goes really well with the fish oil.
Just on that, like, you are a researcher. I mean, you've gone deep into this. You know, it's not like you're somebody that's toting something that doesn't work just to make a buck. Like you have a high level of integrity around, look, I want to help people. I've looked in the research. Lion's mane helps people. Like it's black and white. So why not help get it out there more, which is what I love that you're doing. So yeah, continue. I love what we're talking about here.
Thank you. And then the last one is a B complex vitamin. Research from Dr. David Smith at Oxford found that those who take a B complex vitamin with fish oil, got to take both of them, have a 30% reduction in the risk of Alzheimer's disease. So fish oil with a methylated B complex that helps reduce homocysteine, high levels of homocysteine, increase the risk of heart disease as well as Alzheimer's disease. And B complex vitamins are necessary to make neurotransmitters. The way a lot of anesthesia works is it basically reduces acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter involved in memory. By the way, Benadryl blocks acetylcholine. So I don't recommend taking Benadryl long-term. If you take it, once a month because you need it for sleep, probably not a bad thing or probably not too bad. Taking it every day chronically, really dangerous. There's a study out of Harvard. There's an article from Harvard Medical School talking about how Benadryl increases the risk of dementia. I think if you take it for 6 months or more, I think it increased the risk by about 40%. I don't remember. It was high. It was high. And so Benadryl blocks acetylcholine. Basically, and if you're on any prescription drugs, if you don't know what they do, please ask your pharmacist, do any of these drugs block acetylcholine? Acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter involved in memory. If you're taking a drug that blocks acetylcholine long-term, that can increase your risk of Alzheimer's disease. I'd love to name them. There's too many to name. A lot of them are bladder control drugs. But just if you don't know what a drug does that you're taking, please ask your pharmacist. Your doctors are harder to contact. Pharmacists just go up to Target and say, look, does this drug that I'm taking, does it affect acetylcholine? How so? And then if you want something different, ask your doctor, what options do you have that don't block acetylcholine? Of course, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not giving you medical advice, but I want you to know this because this is really important, because a lot of medical doctors will prescribe what's most effective to treat the symptom, but it may have side effects that you don't want. So they generally think, okay, what's going to be most effective to help with bladder control, without thinking, okay, what's also going to affect the brain? Not everybody thinks in the systems approach.
They don't have that biological systems approach and holistic, vitalistic approach to, to health, which is really what I believe the future of health is. And like the foundation of longevity isn't just, us thinking about taking N-acetylcysteine or, getting on a product like this, new supplement that just came into me, came to my house today. It's like, what can we do to create a movement around understanding that one thing affects the other. And there's like a biological systems approach to healthcare. And, longevity is unfortunately, this whole category is so focused on just the one thing that you can do, and the one supplement you can take. And as you're talking, you're like talking about multiple products that have many different benefits in different ways, right? And there's even synergistic, elements that we probably don't even know that we don't know of. Absolutely. These, how they work in the body. But continue. This is good.
Absolutely. And so I love what you shared. I just learned something really scary yesterday that I'd love to share with you. It's one of these things where you learn and you can't unlearn it. And my hope is that when people learn this, they really think hard about what we're doing in society. So I didn't know this, but some of the largest food companies in the United States are owned by cigarette companies. Yeah, Kraft Foods and Nabisco are owned by cigarette companies. One was bought by R.J. Reynolds, which is Camel, and then the other was bought by Philip Morris, which is Marlboro, and all their subsidiaries. And so my understanding of cigarette companies is that they're perfectly fine killing their customers. They're okay with that. And we know that. We absolutely know that they're willing to kill their customers because they do. And they're fine with that. And you know what? Great. I can put you in the category of you're willing to kill your customers. Fine. You want to smoke? That is your choice, but you know who you're dealing with. Now they're involved in our food. And if they're willing to kill their customers, if we know that, and I think most of us would agree with that, if they're willing to kill their customers and they now are in our food supply, what does that mean? It means that our food may not be safe. And it doesn't take a genius to say that. Are 7 out of 10 Americans overweight or obese? I think the number now might be 7.4 out of 10 Americans are overweight or obese. Half of children are diabetic or pre-diabetic. Just crazy numbers, especially compared to the 1970s and 1980s. By the way, cigarette companies bought, I think the first was in 1985. They bought Nabisco or Kraft. I think it was Kraft. Wow. It used to be so healthy in the 70s. And diabetes was juvenile, was adult onset. Now kids are getting it.
If you're a medical doctor, nurse practitioner, chiropractor, or other health expert that's stuck in a broken system, there's a better way. The Freedom webinar shows you a proven 5-step system to build a 7-figure virtual health practice, or how to modernize your current brick and mortar practice without the burnout. Learn to create high-ticket programs, automated income, residual revenue, and attract clients ready to work with you. Book your $1 million strategy session today by clicking the link in the description.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it is, if you really want to get into longevity, start with the children, right? You got to change your own life and upgrade your own health. But man, is what you're saying so true. And it is very sad. You look at, 30 years ago, the autistic rates were 1 in every 10,000 kids, 40 years ago. but now it's 1 in every 36 children, 1 in every 22 boys, right? It's so crazy. But one of the things I will say, I took Dr. Love out to dinner the other day, and it was so funny as we were ordering our menu, like how many changes we had to make to an already like fancy restaurant. And they ended up, cutting out the dairy and not bringing any gluten, and then cutting out the things that had toxins or chemicals in it, making sure it wasn't cooked in vegetable oil and it was cooked.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I had to ask them, your olive oil, is there canola oil in it? In the United States, it's legal to sell olive oil at a restaurant and have it be 49% canola oil. That's crazy, because you're not buying olive oil. You're buying canola oil plus your olive oil plus canola oil. So you have to ask.
Wow.
And so, or you can bring your own. I learned that from Dr. David Perlmutter, who wrote Grain Brain, really great neurologist. Yeah, it's come to the point where we need to bring our own olive oil and our own dressings to restaurants. Kraft Foods makes a lot of dressings. What does that mean? It means they're willing to put in stuff that's addictive and not good for you into their salad dressings, because they're owned by cigarette companies and they're willing to kill you. So we're now really playing defense. I have great sympathy for parents. I'm glad I'm not a parent right now, because you got to navigate the social media, keeping your kids off of that. There's so many different issues around gender identity that are difficult for parents to navigate. They don't know what to do, and they got to protect their kid from the pornography, which is really dangerous to children.
Dangerous to your brain.
It's so bad. All you got to do is click, yes, I'm 18. It's we have terrible laws with protecting children from pornography. And then there's the food issue. And then, you go to school and there you eat garbage food there, and you go to the grocery store, there's just garbage everywhere that your kid could eat, and we don't know what it does to their brains and their hormones. There's glyphosate in drinking water. It's so difficult to be a parent. And so I have great sympathy. I understand it's really difficult to do these things.
Do you know what I do as a parent of 4 kids? No, no social media, right?
Excellent.
Everything we do is from our garden outside at our house, right? And then we obviously, we're not trying to shelter our children. We want them to be exposed to, and we actually have conversations about all these interesting topics. But we are consistently being involved in our kids' lives. We homeschool.
Awesome.
It's really good. And to socialize them, obviously we've got them in co-ops, we've got lots of friend groups or whatever, but it's unfortunately a different day and age in that we have to even be thinking about that. And my son went to a camp, and he's like, I want to go to this camp. I'm like, are there going to be any cell phones? And he's like, cell phones are not allowed at the camp. Are there going to be any computers? Computers are not allowed at this camp. I'm like, how many adults are going to be there to supervise? There's going to be 1 adult for every 2 kids. I'm like, amazing. Right. So then I looked at everything, and I just made sure, cause I'm like, I'm not going to let my kid go to a camp and be exposed to the things I got exposed to as a kid that I was just sideswiped by, when my kids were just like, this is something that their dads found was fine or normal or whatever, that I know my dad would not want me to be exposed to. You know what I'm saying? So it's important, I think, more now than ever, to get our kids off of social media and to really protect our children's brains, for sure. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. And I'm someone who makes a living on social media. I have almost 5 million followers across social media platforms. I advocate for turning off the television, computer, cell phone 1 to 2 hours before bed. Please don't give your children cell phones. My kids aren't getting cell phones. Whatever their friends do, like, look, they might have the watch where I can track you and I can say, hey, come home for dinner. But I don't need to, my kid does not need to call me at all times. I don't need to call them all the time. I just need to be able to say, come home for dinner. And then if you're late, you might not get dinner. If you don't eat your dinner, you're not getting dessert, right? If you don't eat your vegetables, if you don't eat your grass-fed steak, if you don't eat your sardines, no, you don't get dessert. If you're hungry, welcome to the human experience. Humans are hungry. Humans are upset. Humans are bored. It doesn't mean you get a cell phone to entertain yourself just because we're waiting for a bus or for an airplane. We've been babying children too long, and I'm sure you've seen this. Children are driving parenting now. I've seen parents give their crying kid a cell phone or a tablet at a dinner table. Well, you've just rewarded that child for bad behavior. That's what you've done. You reward the child with a screen time for bad behavior. You're
Yeah,
conditioning the child to behave poorly.
exactly.
You don't want to do that. You want to do the
And
opposite. If they're not behaving well, say, listen, you don't get to come out to dinner with us again, and you're not getting dessert, and you don't get TV tomorrow.
yeah,
People are doing things in the opposite direction. And I'm very concerned
absolutely.
for our future, especially our future, our children's future. I mean, children are behaving poorly because they have bad food and
Th-
they're not
This
outside.
this is like one of the reasons why we have Alzheimer's is because of these issues. And 40% of teenagers having mental disorders, and
Can
the
you
amount of
imagine? That's
yeah,
half your classroom. Half your
yeah,
classroom is mentally sick.
yeah,
That's insane. And that
that
no
is
one.
that is insane. So what is it that causes Alzheimer's disease? What, in your estimation, is it the glyphosate? Is it the atrazine in the water? Is it the heavy metals in the fish? Is it the vegetable oil? Like what would you say is the main?
This is a great question. So, according to
Yeah.
Dale Bredesen, who I believe will go down in history as the person who cracked the code of Alzheimer's disease, he's a medical doctor from UCLA and the Buck Institute of Aging. He's a personal hero of mine. He shared that there are 44 different risk factors of Alzheimer's disease. We're still learning more, but here are the biggest, here are the major ones. First one's inflammation. Inflammation. And so inflammation damages our tissues and organs. Inflammation also can damage the brain. So inflammation is one. And then a number of the other risk factors increase inflammation. For example, heavy metals. Heavy
Mhm.
metals increase inflammation. So that's number one. Number two is type 2 diabetes. If you have type 2 diabetes, number one, that increases inflammation. And number two, type 2 diabetes means you're not using energy effectively. And so if your brain's not using energy effectively, this can lead to brain fog. I'm sure we've all had low energy brains from time to time. And then if that continues chronically, that now becomes mild cognitive impairment. And so if your brain doesn't have good energy and that continues to be a chronic issue, that mild cognitive impairment is basically pre-Alzheimer's disease. There's nothing mild about it. It's early stage dementia.
Wow.
And so type 2 diabetes is a major risk factor. Traumatic brain injury, we touched on that earlier. You hit your head, you've actually damaged your brain. And if that's not repaired, that is a major risk factor. And then there's environmental toxins. Environmental toxins, they could be things like brain parasites. So parasites in our food can often cross the blood-brain barrier and cause damage to the brain.
Wow.
I don't eat sushi anymore because of the dangers
No
of
way. I
parasites in
love
sushi.
sushi.
I love sushi too. And
So what's in the sushi? Because I ended up going to Japan. I went to all these Michelin star sushi restaurants, which were just absolutely incredible. It
if you
was
go
like
I went recently. It's just a great time to go to Japan because our money was really strong.
it is. And I will say, like, it was just unbelievable. But I came back and I had a liver fluke.
Oh
And
my.
and I think it's from the food that I ate there. And so I'm actually in the middle of a parasite cleanse right now in phase 3 of my parasite cleanse. But yeah, I mean, it's a real thing, but it's, like the Toro is just so good, man. I don't know.
I know. I hear you. I was eating I did a lot of sushi. I love the conveyor belt sushi that they have there. There's a better name for it, but the sushi that comes on the conveyor belt, you just take whatever you like. I ate all cooked sushi. One, because it's healthier. Number two, I've taken a pretty public stance that I'm not eating sushi because I want to reduce the risk of parasites. I think there's a study out of New York, you can look this up, that found that those who ate sushi once or twice a week, I think maybe 10% of them had a parasite. It was a substantial portion. It was a large number. You'd say, wow, that's intense. And then there's just an article, my partner, Dr. Josh Hellman, a medical doctor from Harvard, he sent this to me today. It said, people who have cats can have this certain parasite from handling kitty litter, and this parasite can increase anxiety. A lot of people talk about this. Dr. Javen Moore is someone you know well. I interviewed him. He mentioned mold can often trigger anxiety because the mold. So mold is another risk factor, by the way. Mold and environmental toxins, they're called mycotoxins, and this can create inflammation and harm the brain. He found that people who have mold exposure often get anxiety because the anxiety is a way for the brain to tell you something's wrong, right? The brain isn't able to say mold. The brain can just say something's wrong. And so people are getting anxiety when they live in a moldy house because that's the brain's way of saying something's wrong. You got to fix this. And so that's happening with this cat parasite is I can look up the name if you like. It's somewhere in my phone. And basically people are having higher levels of anxiety from this. So parasites is one, environmental toxins is one. And then there's also heavy metals, which is another environmental toxin. I drink distilled water or reverse osmosis water. The reason being, glyphosate is in our rainwater. It's been in our rainwater since 2011. I learned about it a year ago, but 2011, there's an EPA article saying glyphosate's in our rainwater, and this means it's likely going to be spread throughout our environment. But it's in our rainwater. It's basically everywhere. It means it can get our well water. It can get in any field. It can get in organic fields. So glyphosate is pretty much everywhere, at least in the United States.
That should be illegal. That
Absolutely.
should be completely illegal. I mean,
Absolutely.
that is terrible. A forever chemical that's now in our rainwater. You know, I've got a pristine pool in the backyard, and I'm just thinking like that a lot of that's rainwater from just the rain over the years or
in there.
That's crazy. All right.
It's ridiculous. So for those interested in public policy, there's about 10,000 chemicals that can be added to our food that are approved. In Europe, there are 400. 10,400. Glyphosate's not allowed in Europe. And so the Europeans are doing food much more intelligently than us. And again, they don't. So cigarette companies, just to tip my hat to them, are very smart. They're very, 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 very smart. They are clever. They are ruthless. They know what they can get away with. They know how to lobby. They know
how to lobby. That's the key right there. They know how to lobby. And I just want that whole system ripped down. Because I mean, you think about it, it's just when they won the lawsuit on how cigarettes cause cancer, and then they started putting up all these images of people with cancer and the truth about smoking, it was so like jarring to a lot of people. But like, that is exactly what is happening with chemicals right now that are owned by some of these same companies, right? It's crazy.
It's crazy. So they're very smart in getting the laws passed. Also laws that protect them, right? They're trying to get laws that say you can't sue companies if you get poisoned by pesticides. So they're extremely smart. They're extremely ruthless, and they're really good at what they do, which is making money for themselves at the expense of our health. So distilled water. I drink distilled water, then I add my minerals back in, my magnesium, my selenium, my zinc. I add those back in. I like Trace Minerals. That's the company I use, excuse me, for the minerals that I add back in. So I recommend, especially if you have growing children, distilled or reverse osmosis water, because you also don't want the fluoride getting in there. I've been talking about fluoride for over a decade, and it's dangerous to the brain. Recent articles are coming out now about fluoride is dangerous for the brain. And the people, this is hilarious, Dr. Jones, as someone who appreciates science and a scientist, you'll love this. So in the article, they say, studies show that fluoride exposure reduces IQ. And then someone from the Fluoride Council says, quote, just because new studies show XYZ does not overturn decades of research showing water fluoridation is safe and effective. And I said, actually, that's exactly what these studies do. That's exactly what they do. That's what new science does. New science can overturn previous conclusions. So this person's not a scientist. So they don't understand what science is. Science is updated with the new research. The new research shows fluoride in your water is bad for your child's brain, period. Whether it's longitudinal studies in China or in the US, it is bad for their brain. It doesn't matter what the data said before then. It's bad for their brains, not to mention half the fluoride we drink stays in our body. The other half gets excreted through our urine. So half of it's staying in your kid's body, in their tissues, their organs, and their bones. You don't want fluoride in your bones. It's a bad deal. So please drink reverse osmosis or distilled water. That's one of the best ways you can protect yourself from environmental toxins. And then, someone you introduced me to, Warren, Non-Toxic Dad on Instagram, he's walking the talk for reducing toxins. I went to his hotel room to do an interview. He's got a giant air filter. He's got two of these giant air filters in there. So get a HEPA filter, HEPA filter. I had to get some for my parents because they didn't get them on their own. But put one in your office.
he came down to my hotel room to get adjusted at like 10 o'clock at night. But I mean, yeah, he's my brother-in-law. He married my sister, and I've been in this whole non-toxic world for a very long time. I had mold toxicity. I had mercury fillings throughout my entire mouth. Had to get them properly removed by an IOMT dentist, an International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology. And I mean, your brain just turns back on when you get mercury out of your body, right? When you get rid of the mold and all the things that you're talking about. I'm like, man, I loved you before, Dr. Robert, but Dr. Love, but man, I love you even more now. So that's
Thank
good. Yeah.
you.
But yeah, these are serious things. And what continue if you want to, share.
Those are the major causes of Alzheimer's to wrap up. So we got inflammation. Forgive me. So we got, so here are the major causes of Alzheimer's disease, the major risk factors: inflammation, type
Yep.
2 diabetes, traumatic brain injury,
Yeah.
heavy metal exposure, and then mold and environmental toxins. Those are some of the major things. And then lack of nutrition. Lack of nutrition. If your brain doesn't have the resources to repair itself, we talked about diet. If your brain is not getting enough healthy fats, if you're not getting enough vitamins and minerals, if you're not getting B vitamins, if you're not getting vitamin D through either sun exposure or supplementation, these are all risk factors. So nutrition really matters. And what we've learned, and lastly is blood flow. Poor cardiac health, poor cardiovascular health, very bad for the brain. This is one reason why exercise is so good for your brain. Exercise is medicine for your brain. Exercise gets fresh blood and nutrients into your brain. Your brain is, it's only a couple pounds, but it uses 20 to 30% of your energy and your oxygen. And so if you're not, if you don't have good blood flow, then your brain isn't getting the nutrients it needs, and that's a real problem. And so those are the major risk factors for dementia. And so broadly speaking, you really want to just be super healthy. Things that are good for your heart health are good for your brain. What's good for your gut is good for your brain. What's good for your overall health is good for your brain. So good sleep. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention poor sleep. Poor sleep is a major risk factor.
This is how we prevent Alzheimer's.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
Yes.
Continue. Yeah, this is good.
By being really healthy is how you prevent Alzheimer's. Get good sleep, get good exercise, eat a diet that's primarily organic fruits and vegetables and healthy protein. You basically avoid grains and processed foods and refined sugar, but organic fruits, organic vegetables, healthy form of protein, whatever that is for you, and ideally some healthy fatty fish in there, and good sleep, exercise, spend time learning, and then avoid toxins by filtering your air and drinking distilled water, and then you spend time doing what you love and spend time with people that you love. There's a great Harvard study where it's a Harvard longitudinal study where they've followed people into their 90s. So people in Harvard sign up for this long-term study. They interview them once every 5 years. They look at their blood levels and so forth. What they found is the number one thing that affects their health, it's not income, and it is not satisfaction with life. It's not how many children they have. It is basically the quality of their marriage. Relationships are, if you only get one factor, the quality of your relationships is the biggest factor in determining your health.
Wow.
And your overall health is the biggest factor determining your risk of Alzheimer's disease. So if we only get one thing to do, have wonderful relationships. Love the people you love. Let them know that you love them. And I love that about you, Dr. Jones. You're very heart-centered, and you tell people that you love them, and you tell people that you care about them, and you make it clear that you're a human, you're a person, and I value you. You're a divine creation of something much greater than us, and I love you. And by having that, love, by radiating that love, that's just a beautiful thing for the world. And so please, please, please get your daily hugs, tell people you love them, and spend time with them, and prioritize your relationships, because that is the most important thing that's going to affect your health and your risk of Alzheimer's disease.
You probably get told you're loved more than anybody else because your last name is Love.
That helps. And then if you watch my videos,
I love you. I love how you show up. I love how you're just, completely, aligned to telling the truth to people, even if it hurts, even if it puts you at risk. I'm in the same category as you. And I just want truth to be told and for people to transform their health and vitality. It's so powerful. So where can they go to learn more about you and connect with you even more?
Absolutely. So thank you for having me on. This is a lot of fun, and I'm so glad to share this information with people. If you'd like to find me, I'm on TikTok and on Instagram, on Facebook. Just search Robert Love. You'll find me. My official handle is Robert WB Love. All those accounts have over 1 million followers on them. So some people have copied my account and my face. They've even put up videos of me. So the one that's officially me are the ones with over 1 million followers on them on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. I post the most on TikTok. and second most on Instagram, so you can check those out. And then I have some free resources for people. I have something called the 6 Steps to Reversing Alzheimer's that I wrote with my business partner, Dr. Josh Hellman. He and I have a medical clinic here in Florida where we're actually reversing Alzheimer's. We're part of an FDA clinical trial with a new drug that's doing great things. We're combining the drug with exercise, diet, and lifestyle. So if you'd like that free ebook, 6 Steps to Reversing Alzheimer's, you get that at robertlove.net. So just my name, .net, and then you can get that free ebook there. And yeah, it's an honor being here with you, Dr. Jones. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Dr. Love. And yeah, thank you for sharing such beautiful information to help so many people that want to optimize their brain health. And one thing I'll say is that I believe this is accurate. 1 out of every 4 people by age 60 get Alzheimer's, and 1 out of every 2 people by age 85 get Alzheimer's. Is that accurate?
The second number I know is correct. I don't know about the earlier one. That may be correct. 60 seems a bit early for 1 out of 4.
Yeah.
I would want to confirm that. I don't know that number. I don't think that's correct. I could be wrong. Yeah. I don't know what the number is for 60.
It's good. Well, this is important for longevity. Even if you're 50% of people by 85, if you want to,
yeah, longevity for us means 90, 95, 100. And so if you're going to make it to 90, you got to not get Alzheimer's at 85, because 5 years is not going to be fun. So if you're going to do the longevity game, which I think most of us are into, you really want to prevent Alzheimer's disease, because that is one of the biggest risk factors once we get up to 75, 80, 85.
So good, Robert. Thank you so much, Dr. Love. Have an incredible day. And I again, appreciate your time today.
Thanks so much. Love and blessings to you, Dr. Jones.
Thanks for listening to the Longevity Leaders Podcast. Our Longevity Leaders community is on mission to transform 100 million lives by 2040. If you enjoyed this show, please share this with somebody that you know, especially another doctor or physician, but also click that follow button. Until next time, stay strong and live long.